All right, hello and welcome. I'm so excited to have you with us today. I'm so excited for today's session. We're going to be talking about how to triple your sales by getting your internet marketing right in your plumbing, HVAC, electrical, home service business. Love to make these sections as interactive as possible. So if you don't mind, turn on your webcams, unmute yourself, and have the ability to kind of chat in if you want. Find the chat box and put a 1 in the chat, just so I can make sure that you know how to chat with me and we can make this a two-way conversation. So here's what we're going to cover on today's session. I can see that the screen's a little bit hard to see. And so if anybody gets super frustrated by the screen, let me know and I can shift to sharing my screen. Main thing I want to cover is the accelerated growth model and kind of the model we've unpacked over the last 12 years in this business that has helped our clients really accelerate the growth. Number of leads, number of book jobs, number of sales. We're going to unpack that accelerated growth model. The most important online marketing channels that you want to be tapping into, lots of different things at play, right? SEO and pay-per-click and local service ads and thumbtack and retargeting and all of these other channels with social media. We'll talk about the ones that we're finding work best for growing your plumbing, HVAC, electrical business. We'll talk about how to turn your website into a lead machine. Really, one of the most important things you need to make sure is that your website where your customers land actually converts visitors into callers and that you've got a process to convert those callers into book jobs and into revenue. And so we're going to talk about what things you can change, what things you can modify on your website to help them convert at the highest level possible. We'll talk about the key strategies for getting ranked organically. I'm all for paid search. I love tapping into paid traffic sources. But still, some of the highest quality traffic you can get comes from organic, from people searching and finding you in Google and finding you on the non-paid listings. And so we'll talk about the key things you can do with your website and with your online strategy to make sure you're showing up in all the places your customers are looking without having to incur a cost for every single click. We'll talk about how to win with local service ads. This is a big thing that's come down the pipe. A lot of you guys already doing local service ads. Type LSA if you're already running local service ads. We'll talk about not just how it works, but how to win with local service ads, how to really optimize your results and maximize your outcomes. And then how to improve the conversion rate that you get from lead to book job. There's lots of new things that have come out in terms of marketing automation, two-way text messaging, chat via text that we found can really amplify the conversion rate from website visitor to an actual lead. So these are the key things. I'm sure we'll be talking about other things as we go. We'll be filling in a lot of different gaps, but just give me a yes in the comments if we can cover this during the next 60 minutes. This will feel like a really productive use of your time. Just give me a yes in the comments. I like to make sure I'm talking about what you want to hear, and this is going to be relevant. Excellent. I'm seeing yeses. So thank you guys for interacting. Thanks for using the two-way chat. Real quick, who am I? Why should you listen? My name is Josh Nelson. I'm the founder of Plumbing and HVAC SEO, digital marketing agency service for plumbing, HVAC, and home service companies. I'm the author of How to Triple Your Sales by Getting Your Internet Marketing Right, the book. Type book in the comments if you've got this book or you've read the book. This is kind of the core presentation that I like to share that explains our key strategies, our key techniques that we found work really, really well for helping companies grow. Book in the comments if you have it. If you don't, let us know. We can get a copy out to you. This is one of the top selling books on digital marketing for plumbing, HVAC, and home services. But I'd say more important than the fact that I published a book and that I'm involved with Nextdoor, QSC, and Service Roundtable, and all of these different organizations, I'd say most importantly, I've had the opportunity now to work with hundreds of plumbing, HVAC, home service companies in some of the most competitive markets across the country, taking a lot of them from relative obscurity online to the point where they're now the dominant company in their market, coming up very strong organically, generating hundreds and hundreds of leads every single month. And a lot of our clients have tripled their sales. Many of them have seen millions and millions of dollars in increased revenue by implementing the right online marketing strategies. And so what I'm going to share with you today isn't based on theory. It's not based on some blog post that I read somewhere or what I read on search engine land. It's based on real world in the trenches experience working with plumbing, HVAC, home service companies just like you. And this is what we do all day, day in and day out. Our mission here at Plumbing and HVAC SEO is to triple the sales of 1,000 plumbing HVAC home service companies over the next 10 years. And this is what we do every day. Like, we've got a full team, United States, international, that all day, every day, we build the websites, we write the content, we do the work, we put in the automations, and we have a passion for helping home service companies generate better results and grow their businesses. And so if you're interested in having us review what you're doing with your online marketing today, look at your website, look at your SEO strategy, look at your paid click, and actually give you a personalized assessment, you can go to plumberseo.net/schedule. Just pick a time. I'm going to give you great insights today, but sometimes it's nice to have a magnifying glass on your actual strategy and show you what's good, what's bad, where there's room for improvement. So that's us. That's who I am. That's why you should listen. Why are we even doing a session about online marketing, how to increase your sales? Why is this important? I like to start all my webinars, all my sessions with this kind of as a mental frame. The reason I think it's important is because at the end of the day, marketing will make or break your business, right? If you do not have good marketing, if you don't have phone calls, if you don't have inquiries, if you don't have new customers reaching out on a consistent basis, you can have the best technicians in the world. You can have the best systems in the world. But if you don't have lead flow and you don't have customers, you don't have a business, right? There's not money to pay the bills. There's not money to grow the businesses. There's not money to bring on that new truck. There's not money to put that recruiting strategy in place to get the next tech and to continue to grow the business. I think the other reason this is super important is that you guys make a massive investment in marketing. Like, as a whole, the plumbing, HVAC, home service industry, you spend a lot of money on pay-per-click advertising, on retargeting. Many of you guys have tried multiple providers for this. I'd be curious, our typical clients doing between $1 million and $10 million per year, spending well over $100,000 per year in marketing. What are you spending today? Like, if you don't mind, in comments, how much are you spending? Are you spending 10 grand a year? Are you spending 5 grand a year? Are you spending 200,000 a year? Maybe $1 million per? I don't know. Put that in the comments. But what I do know is that you guys make a major investment. You're not afraid to spend dollars to generate leads and to keep the business rolling. But I'd say the other reason, outside of those two reasons, that this is super important is the bigger threat, the bigger kind of opportunity cost for you is parked trucks. Like, I think most of us would agree on today's session that the bigger challenge in this industry isn't necessarily getting customers, right? There's plenty of customers. The bigger challenge is finding good technicians, getting those technicians to stay with you, keeping them on board. Type recruiting, if this is a big challenge for you in your business. That's what I'm hearing from our clients. The big challenge is the recruiting and the hiring and the maintaining the technicians. And so if you've invested the time and the energy to hire a tech, to get them trained up, to get their truck stocked, and you wind up with parked trucks, and that technician winds up getting attracted to a different company or leaving your organization, that is a huge problem that can be solved with proper marketing, right? If we've got a great marketing strategy, we've got plenty of deal flow, well, our phones are ringing, we never have to worry about that technician hopping off board. Give me a 1 if that makes sense. It's kind of like, these are the key reasons we have to make sure that we've got a good marketing strategy and that we're constantly growing and we're constantly staying on the cutting edge of what's happening in marketing. All right, good. I'm getting lots of 1s coming in. That's fantastic. So the opportunity, really what we're after, what we want to solve for on today's session, number 1 is we want to nail the marketing, right? We want to make sure we've got plenty of lead flow coming in. Number 2, we want to make sure we have a great investment from that big spend we're making in marketing, right? We're spending a lot of money in advertising. We're willing to try different things, but we need to know, how much did I spend? How many leads did I generate? Am I actually getting a return on investment? And make sure that we're really getting a great result from the money that we're spending, right? So we're maximizing our outcomes, we're maximizing our results. And most importantly, we generate enough leads to keep the trucks running, to hit our targets, to not worry about the technician having to go somewhere else, but to constantly keep the trucks in circulation and have a confidence play that as you find that next tech, as you roll out that next truck, you've got the lead volume that you need to grow and to keep them busy. So I do have a great workbook that we've put together for this session. You can access it by going to plumberseo.net/workbook. Christian or Rick, if you can drop that into the comments, we'll kind of use this to help drive the session and kind of give you some actionable insights that you can take away. That's plumberseo.net/workbook. There you go. Christian just dropped it in. So I want to start by talking a little bit about this accelerated growth model and kind of the key things that come into play when we think about what you need to do to accelerate your growth. And really, it comes down to three key things. Number one, we've got to drive leads, right? We have to have enough lead flow via phone calls, via text messages, via online booking to keep the trucks running. And usually when we think about marketing, that's where our mind goes. Yeah, I've got to drive leads. Beyond that, though, we've also got to maximize conversion. We've got to make sure that we've got the ability to convert those leads into booked jobs, and then we can convert those booked jobs into converted sales that actually generate revenue, and then we convert those one-time customers into repeat customers that use us again and again and refer us to others, right? If you can drive leads and then you can maximize the conversion of those leads and those customers into repeat customers, you've got a great foundation for accelerated growth within your business. And then from there, we've got to optimize results, which means we've got to be able to figure out of all of the different marketing things we're doing to drive leads, what's working best? What's getting us the best ROI? How can we double down on the things that generate results and kill the things that don't? And so within each of these, what we'll be talking about is when it comes to driving leads, there's three main channels. Number one is organic, right? Which is making sure we're coming up in the non-paid listings, making sure we're showing up in the online directories where our customers look, making sure that we're getting word of mouth business. These are all lead channels to drive leads that we don't actually have to incur a cost for, right? It's just organic marketing. We want to make sure we've got all of the organic channels firing because that's the lowest cost, highest value lead that you can get. Now, in addition to that, we want to drive leads through paid search. So paid search is Google ads, it's local service ads, it's retargeting, maybe it's Facebook and TikTok, right? It's actually paying for eyeballs. It's paying for attention that when you've got the right tracking in place, gives you a dial. Hey, this is working. Let's spend more on those local service ads. Let's spend more on whatever it is that's working. And we want to make sure that we've got that fully optimized. And then number three is database marketing, which is, I think, probably the biggest opportunity for most of you is that you've got a database of past customers, people that have done business with you in the past inquiries, people that maybe got to your website or they called in, but they didn't actually do business with you, but they're interested, they're in the local market. And usually we don't do any type of marketing back to our existing database. What we found is that's one of the greatest sources of lead flow that you have. If you can market to those past customers and get back in the home, if you can market to those customers and get them to refer you to a friend or a colleague, this creates a very low cost mechanism to generate leads, to generate booked sales and revenue growth. So as it relates to this particular channel, if you just thought about this from a traffic light system, green being it's really good, it's nice and tight, yellow being there's room for improvement, it's not terrible, but it's not great, and red being not doing anything there, lots of room for improvement. I'd love for you just to personally assess where you're sitting. Are you doing great with SEO organic? Are you doing great with paid search? Are you doing great with database marketing, right? Because the reds, the things that there's not a lot of great traction on, tend to be the opportunities that stand out. I'd love it if you could just post in the comments, out of all three of those, which one is the biggest opportunity for you right now? Where do you need to put your focus, put your attention to get the outcomes that you're after? So then when it comes to the conversion side of the equation, right? You can generate leads, right, through all of these channels. But if you don't convert those leads into sales, it's very easy to waste a lot of money. Super important. Most marketing companies just focus on lead generation. And they're really good at Facebook ads, so they're really good with SEO, and that's what they focus on. But really, as a marketing company, our goal isn't just to generate leads for you, it's to generate sales, it's to generate revenue growth. And so we have to make sure we're focused on not just getting the lead to the website or getting the lead to the phone, but actually converting those leads into revenue. So when it comes to maximizing conversion, there's three key things you want to focus on. Number one is your website, right? Your website is where customers go, regardless of if it was from SEO or from pay-per-click or because they saw one of your trucks. Eventually, they're going to wind up on your website, and that website becomes the hub. And if your website isn't built to convert, if it's not compelling in the respect that somebody wants to decide to call you versus the competition, you're going to be bleeding traffic. You're going to be bleeding opportunity. And so we want to make sure that our website is super fast loading, that it's mobile friendly, that it's compelling, and it gives a strong reason why somebody should choose you versus the competition. And when we do that, we can really improve the conversion rate from our paid and organic channels. From there, to maximize conversion, we also need to think about your reputation, which is, what's the reputation in the local marketplace? What kind of reviews do you have on Google, on Yelp, on Angie, on Thumbtack? Because what we know is that your reputation has an impact on your rankings organically, but it also has a massive impact on your conversions. Because your customer, your potential customer, when they're looking to solve that plumbing problem, or they're looking to change out that water heater, or they're looking to install that new AC system, they're going to run a search, right? And they're going to wind up looking at your company and be like, this seems like a pretty solid company, but what are other people saying about them? What's the review stuff say, right? They're going to go back to Google and they're going to go reviews for Bill's Plumbing, right? And if you don't have either enough reviews or you don't have positive sentiment in your reviews, that's going to cause them to look elsewhere, right? So it's really important that we're consistently driving new reviews from our real customers in the real service area. We're responding to the reviews that we do get, and we're cognizant of how do we match up versus the competition. Is there somebody in your market that has 10 times more reviews than you? Or do you have a little bit of a black eye? Maybe a couple of your most recent clients or customers went in and wrote a negative review. That will impact your conversion rate. So making sure we've got a great reputation management strategy where we're not just getting new reviews, but we're also kind of benchmarking against the competition in terms of how many reviews they have, and the recency of reviews, because people will look at the most recent reviews and judge you based on that. And the number three, probably the biggest opportunity as it relates to conversion, in my mind, is automation, right? The technology now exists. I'm sure you guys are hearing about ChatGPT and BART and all of the new AI tools that are out there and coming down the pipe. But automation has been around for a long time, where if somebody submits a request on your website, they get a call, they get a text message. But most home service companies haven't gotten to the place where they've implemented any type of automation for their lead flow, for their inquiries. And what we found is if you can put automation in place to speed up your speed to lead. So when somebody requests, when you can get back faster because you have automation in place. And you can automate how frequently you follow up with those leads that haven't scheduled yet. You can 2 or 3 times the conversion rate from an inquiry into a booked job. And further, you can leverage automation to convert that one-time customer who maybe just had you out to unclog the toilet or to repair the AC that's not working. Use automation to develop a relationship with that customer so they know, like, trust you, so they consider you their contractor of choice. You can convert a one-time customer into a repeat buyer that uses you again and again and again. So if you're not leveraging automation, this is a huge opportunity to accelerate the growth of your plumbing, HVAC, or home service company. So when it comes to conversion, I just want you to stop and look at, kind of look at this from a red light system. How are you doing? Is your website built to convert? Is it just cranking away? Maybe it converts at 30 or 40%. That would be green. How's your reputation? Are you getting 10 to 15% of your customers to post a review after the job? Do you have an average of 4.5 star or higher? Are you within 10%, give or take, the highest reviewed competitor in your market? If so, then I'd give yourself a green. If any of those are less, it's probably a yellow. If you don't have a lot of reviews, or you've got like a less than a 4.5 star review right now, that'd probably be red in my mind. And then automation. Do you not have automation in place? Are you not following up via SMS, phone call, and text message immediately after every inquiry? That's red. And to me, that's probably the biggest opportunity for most of you on today's session. So I'd love to know, what's the big opportunity? Out of those three, what's the one thing you need to focus on most right now within your business? Hit me up with some comments here in chat. All of them, says John. Okay, so we're going to drive leads. We talked about some of the key strategies for that. We're going to maximize conversion. We're not going to forget that we have to actually convert those leads into sales if we want our marketing to work. And then number 3 is we have to optimize results, right? And the topic of today's session is how to triple your sales by getting your internet marketing right. And really, one of the key things you probably need to think about is your total spend, right? Regardless of where you're at today, whether you're at $1 million, $5 million, $20 million, we work with clients of all of those different sizes. How much are you spending in your marketing, right? Well, I think when I talk with contractors that are stuck, they got to $1.5 million or 2 million, and they're plateaued. You say, okay, how much are we spending in marketing today, right? And maybe they're spending $5,000 a month, and that's what they spent to get to $1 million per year. The reality is, to be an aggressive growth contractor, you need to be reinvesting 10 to 20%, let's say 10 to 15% of your income back into marketing, right? And a lot of times, if you're stagnated, you just haven't increased the budget. You haven't given yourself the fuel that you need to generate the traction, to generate the lead flow. So typically it starts with your total investment back in your marketing. Number 2, it's really knowing what your average cost per lead is, right? Across all of the marketing that you do, SEO, pay-per-click, social media, direct mail, BNI, whatever marketing you have in place, what's your average cost per lead? You have to know that. You have to have a track on that, because if you don't, then it'd be really easy to spend a lot more money, but be way out of whack, right? If you're spending $500 to generate a drain cleaning lead, that's going to be a problem, right? So we need to know, like, what's the average cost per lead for the various service lines that we have, and you need to have a pulse on that. And then ultimately, we've got to optimize for return on investment, right? The very most important thing that we can put in place is to clearly see how much did we spend, so total spend, how many leads did we generate, what's that average cost per lead, and then what's working best, right? Is the SEO working really well for these particular keywords? Let's double down on that. Are we getting a 5-time return on investment from our local service ads? Maybe we could spend more there, but you can't make those types of adjustments if you don't have the tracking in place and you don't have somebody that's looking at the data and making smart decisions to move things forward. So as it relates to optimizing results, what's the opportunity for you right now? Maybe you need to spend more. You just recognize we're only spending $1,000 a month, right? And we want to grow to 5 million. We need to spend more. Maybe it's you don't have a knob, like you don't know what the average cost per lead is. Or maybe you don't have a track on the ROI. Maybe you're spending a lot of money and you're in that old adage, like, I know something's working, I just don't know what is. Well, the technology exists right now in today's environment where you can pull in your spend data. You can match it against your CRM, whether that's Service Titan or House Call Pro, and know to the dollar, how much should I spend? How much revenue came in from that advertisement and from that marketing? And what's my return on investment? I think most of us are happy to say, if I can spend $1 and get $10 in return, I'll spend that as quickly as possible. We just don't have confidence that that number's correct. So I would just love to know in the comments here, what's the big opportunity for you right now in terms of optimizing your results? Is it tracking the ROI? Is it the total spend? Let me know in the comments here. ROI says tracking, says Fresh Track AC. Yeah. So believe it or not, we're going to go in depth into this over the next 30, 45 minutes. If you've got all of the lead channels dialed in, you're going to generate plenty of leads. If you're converting those leads at a healthy level, 20, 30% of your leads turn into book jobs, and you're converting a one-time customer to a repeat buyer, and then you spend the appropriate amount and you double down on what's generating ROI, regardless if you're at $1 million right now, $5 million right now, or 20 million, in any 12 to 24 month period of time, you can absolutely triple your sales. Give me a 1 in the comments if this makes sense, if you're clear on what this model is and it makes sense to you. Hopefully it does, right? So I'm getting Jerry says 1. Okay, thank you. So visually speaking, in your workbook, I put this in, right? We got to drive leads, we've got to maximize conversion, and then we've got to optimize the results. We've got to optimize the key things that work best. And so I just want to share a quick story. One of the companies we work with, in Orlando, Florida. It's called Shamrock Plumbing. The client we work with in Orlando is Mark Norman. And when I started working with Mark Norman all those years ago, he had grown about $1.5 million per year company serving that market, but he'd grown through the yellow pages. So he had a double truck ad, and that was the main mechanism that helped him generate leads and sales. And over the years, it started to go down. Like, he just wasn't generating as many leads. He wasn't generating as many sales. And he realized at that time, like most of you guys have, if you're on today's session, that the customers weren't going to the yellow pages anymore. Like, there was a complete shift back in that time to online. And what we know today is that 97% of homeowners use the internet in some form or fashion when they're looking for plumbing, HVAC, electrical, service, replacement, and repair. So the question was for him, like, where did the customers go? Well, we know that nowadays they've gone to Google, right? They've gone to Angie. They've gone to Thumbtack. They've gone to Nextdoor. They're online. And when they need your services, that's where they look. And so the next question for him was, okay, well, if my customers have gone online, how do I own that area? How do I make sure I'm coming up in the places where they look, just like I used to come up when they needed it and when they went to the yellow pages? And so he tried a couple of things. First thing he tried, like a lot of us, was like, you know what, yellow pages served me well over the years. It worked okay. I mean, I don't love them, but they got me results. The yellow page lady came in and said, hey, look, we've got internet marketing services. Now we'll get you online. And so he signed up for the yellow pages internet marketing services, and they got him online. They threw up a really basic website. They got him on YP.com, and he kind of stood by the phone, hoping it was going to ring, hoping it was going to be a slam dunk for him. And it just didn't work out, right? It didn't get many leads, didn't get many sales. The problem with this strategy was, yes, he had a website. Yes, he was on YP.com, but they did not get him into places where customers were searching. They weren't coming up on Google. They weren't coming up on Bing. They weren't coming up on the various directories outside of YP.com. So quickly moved away from that strategy. And so the next thing was like, well, if I've got a website, well, I need to make sure I'm coming up in the places my customers actually look. Right now, you need to make sure that I'm coming up as often as possible. And so, just from a basics perspective, I know this is a little bit hard to see. We've got paid search along the top, as well as Google local service ads. We've got the map, and then we've got the organic listings. We want to make sure that we don't just come up in paid, and we don't just come up on the map, but we're coming up in all of the different places, so we have the opportunity when the customer's looking for our services. And so over time, he tried a couple of different things. He tried YP, then he tried a pay-per-click service provider. I want to say it might have been Reach Local or Yodel or one of those guys. And they said, hey, look, we're going to make your phone ring. We're going to get you all over the search engines. We're going to track the calls. And, he spent like $2,500, $3,000 a month there. And it worked pretty good. Like, it was okay, I'm getting some leads, but it wasn't explosive. It felt like regardless of how much he spent, he generated just about enough to break even. And he was frustrated with that outcome. He's like, why isn't this working? And the issue with the strategy that those pay-per-click companies came out with was, first of all, they kept them on a templated website. So his website wasn't compelling. There was no reason for someone to choose him versus the competition. And they only got him in the paid search, right? And yes, you can generate leads from paid search, but the cost per lead's high. And if that's the only channel that you have, you're missing out on all of the organic non-paid results, all of the non-paid traffic that you should be able to tap into. And so he was like, man, I've really got to solve for this. And so I'm going to share with you exactly what we did for Mark. First thing we did was we made sure we set up a website that was built to convert. Right? And I'll share some of the key things you have to put on your website to make sure it converts. But it had personality, had office and authenticity. It made somebody want to choose him versus the competition. The other thing we did was we made sure it came up everywhere. Right? Came up in the paid listing, came up in the organic listings, it came up on the directories, right? In the actual searches people type when they need your services. If you want, run a couple searches for Orlando Plumber, Orlando Plumbing, Orlando Repiping, Orlando Drain Cleaning. He comes up really, really strong. And so over the years, and we're going back a decade now with Mark Norman from Shamrock Plumbing, we rolled out our complete digital dominance method, right? Started with organic in the website, and then we started doing paid search, and we started doing retargeting, we started putting some of the automation stuff in place. And we've tracked the results over the years. And so this is what our tracking looks like today. We also have an advanced benchmark tracking that actually syncs against the dispatch jobs from ServiceTitan and or House Call Pro and Field Edge. But back in the day, $1,600 spent, 230 leads tracked, average of $6.96 per lead. Not too bad back in 2017. Fast forward 2018, spend a little bit more, $497. This is 497 leads per month. Average cost per lead, $6.04. 2020, 586 leads per month. 2022, I think that is 818 leads per month. And this has just continued to grow and compound, right? We're really tracking how many leads we're generating, what that average cost per lead is, and then double down on what's working best. And he has more than tripled his sales many times over the years. And he's been able to go from, like a one-man operator back in the day, just getting by, to now where he's got 8, 9 technicians, and the business is going really, really strong. And I can tell you, Mark is one of hundreds of clients that we've worked with. Many have gone to $10, $20 million per year in revenue. And if it's okay with you, I'll share some of their stories as we go. But really what I want you to think about as you're on today's session is what it would mean to you if you knew that your marketing was working, if you knew that you had the right tracking in place, if you knew that you had a dial that you could turn up as you're ready to grow, as your technicians are ready to take on more lead and sales volume. And that's what we're going to do now. Let's really apply this to your business and shift from story mode into action mode. And really, how do you implement these strategies in your business? Let me know how we're tracking along so far. Give me a 1 if this is good, if you're enjoying this, if you feel like you're getting some valuable insights so far. Fresh Tech says 1. Bill says 1. Okay, great. Appreciate it. I just like to check in every now and then. I don't want to just talk at you for the whole entire session. So let's get into our workbook. You're going to go to plumberseo.net/workbook, and that will help drive our conversation and kind of the key takeaways I want you to have from today's session. So the very first thing we have to do in order to triple our sales, in order to really take things to the next level, the first thing we have to do is make sure that your website is built to convert. We talked about the fact that your website is the hub. It's where people wind up, whether they get there from your social media or from your videos or from your trucks. They're going to wind up your website. And if that website doesn't convert them into a lead, nothing you do from a marketing perspective is going to be as effective as it should be. And so, this is just your typical scenario. Like if you're generating 1,500 visitors per month and you're converting at 5%, and we look at this, our team meets with plumbing, HVAC, home service companies all the time, and the average is less than 10% visitor to lead generated. And if that's where you're at, you're only going to generate a couple grand in revenue from that activity. But if you can get it to 15, 20%, and usually we're shooting for about a 30% conversion rate from visitor to lead, right? That makes everything else more effective. But even if you just went from 5% to 15%, the number of jobs, the amount of revenue that you generate can triple, right? And so it's really important looking at the website and making sure that it is absolutely built to convert. And so a good example of this is one of the companies we work with in Fargo, North Dakota is Laney's. Laney's is a well-known company in that area. We were tracking their website and the number of leads and the number of calls. And you can see here, our call tracking before we launched their new website was about 55 leads per month. Like that's how many calls were coming in via the website. We implemented an updated version of the site. I'm going to show you kind of some of the things you can put in place to get these kinds of outcomes. And before driving more traffic, before changing the rankings, they jumped to 317 calls tracked from the same traffic. So that just goes to show you, if you've got an outdated website that isn't built to convert, it will cost you. And it will cost you in lead flow, it will cost you in booked jobs. And so over the years, tracking from Laney's, you can see here 930 leads tracked. Kind of skip forward a year, 1,451 leads, and this is per month tracked. And that is about $1.72 per lead on their $2,500 investment. So this can have a really big impact on your results and on your outcome. I've got a bunch of bullets here. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I'm going to show you the key things you want to look at on your website. You've got this list in your checklist. So if you want to put your marketing person on it, if you want to, look at it yourself and kind of look at your website through this lens, the key things that we want to make sure we have in place are personality, authenticity, calls to action, and clear next steps. I'm going to pull up this example here. Hold on one sec. You guys should be able to see my screen. So this is one of the companies we've worked with over the years. This is Valley Plumbing. They're based in Salt Lake City, Utah. And this is a site that we built and have done a lot of work on over the years. But as you can see, the key things that help these websites convert. Number one is personality and authenticity. Pictures of Lawrence, pictures of Robbie, pictures of the trucks. People want to do business with people. They want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And so if you can infuse authentic imagery, it makes a big difference on how well your website converts. Making sure that you've got the phone number in the top right-hand corner. Basic thing, but the eye naturally gravitates to that top right-hand corner. Making sure you speak to their subconscious reasons to buy. That you're not going to leave a mess, that you got experienced technicians that are going to take great care of them. And then making sure that you've got other ways for them to convert, right? They may not want to call. Today's customer would probably prefer to chat with you or start a two-way conversation via text message versus a phone call. So having a chat bubble where they can text into your office and get answers to questions makes a big, big difference. And again, I don't want to spend 45 minutes on this. I've got a lot of the bullets and a lot of the reasons for this for you in the workbook. But really what I want you to think about is, does your website load quickly? Does it easily load on a mobile phone with click to call? Is there authentic imagery of yourself? Are you using multimedia, videos? Welcome them to the website. Do they have the opportunity to convert via text message, via calling your office, and or booking directly on your website? If not, those things will negatively impact your conversion rates and will impact your ability to convert. And we've tracked this particular website over the years. You can see about a $10,000 spend, average of $18 per lead, 510 leads tracked. Kind of fast forward here. Tracking on analytics, we're able to see how many visitors get to the website, how many inquiries come in, and what's the actual conversion rate from visitor to lead. This is something we're fanatical at here at Plumbing and HVAC SEO. And you can see for the amount of traffic they get, an average conversion rate of 35%. So this is the kind of the gold standard of what you want to do with your website: authenticity, imagery, multiple ways to convert. Another example I'll show real quick, and then we'll move on here, is the Meridian Advantage. This company's been in business for going on, they just celebrated their 40th year in business, and the business has just flourished over the years. And I want to kind of show you this site. This is something we're really proud of, and another great example of how to make sure your website is built to convert. So you get to the website, and there's a beautiful autoplay video that builds that personality, authenticity, smiling faces. This is the kind of company you want to do business with. Phone number in the top right-hand corner, ability to schedule your service and request service right off the bat, having the two-way chat opportunity, which comes up, and really speaking to the customer avatar, explaining why somebody should do business with you. Always ready, trusted technicians, professional service, not talking the technical jargon, but getting right into why somebody chooses them versus the competition. And then putting the automation on the back end, where if you fill out this form, you're going to get a call immediately. You're going to get a text message immediately. And there's going to be automation in place to complete that follow through and to complete that follow up. So let's just look at the results here. About a $7,800 spend a couple of years ago. 677 leads tracked. And we can see how much came from organic, how much came from paid search, how much came from Google Maps, $11.65 per lead. Kind of as we've accelerated that and tracked it, you can see tracking the traffic, an average conversion rate of 30%, making sure your website converts has a big domino effect on how effective all of the other marketing you have in place is. Another great example is Nick's Go Plumbing, same thing, right? personality, authenticity, video, call to action, multiple ways to convert. You can see here, $5,800 spend, 535 leads, average $10.99 per lead, 38% conversion from visitor to caller. And so what I'd love you to do is in your workbook, I'm going to rapid fire the key things you want to look at on your website to improve your conversion. But I want you to look at your website and see like what's the missing component? What's the element that you could tweak that would maybe take you from 10% to 15% or from 15% to 20%? Number one, if you don't have personal images of yourself, your team, the real people behind the business, it's costing you, right? A lot of home service companies put up stock imagery. So it's the picture of a guy with a wrench. There's a family smiling, but people want to do business with real people. And so we track this, we test it, put real pictures of yourself and your team that will help with conversion. Leverage multimedia, right? This doesn't have to be a video that's highly produced. This could be a video on your phone in front of your truck, talking about who you are, who you serve, how long you've been in business, why you do what you do. That will improve stick rate. It will improve your conversion rate. Showcasing your online reviews, right? Reviews have a massive impact on conversion. And so leverage a widget, and there's automations that will grab your reviews from Angie and from Yelp and from your website and from Google and display it on your website. Make it easy for people to see what a great reputation you have. Give them multiple ways to convert, right? They can call, they can submit a form, they can chat. If you've got those three, you're optimizing your probability of converting a lead into the sale. Let them fill out a form. Not everybody wants to pick up a call. But do have your phone number. This is still the number one way people convert today. So do have a phone number in the top right-hand corner. Make sure that that is in the right place. Makes a big difference in your conversion rate. Have a call to action. Like a lot of times we write a lot of content for these websites. Maybe you wrote a lot of content for each of your services and for each of your cities, but tell them what to do next. Like so often when we look at home service companies, we're like, wow, you've got this great website, but it doesn't tell me to call. It doesn't tell me to click this button to start a chat. Tell them what to do with every page and with every block of content on your website. Have chat available. Right? We are now in 2023, headed to 2024. If you don't have some type of chat mechanism on your website, you're leaving opportunity on the table. And your customer, all other things being equal, would prefer to either book directly online, so put online booking and like where they can pick their time and their date, and at least have a two-way text message option. So while they could chat, that's one option. The better option would be they send that chat, they get a text message, and now they're chatting with you or somebody on your team. That's the gold standard in terms of how you improve your conversion and communicate with your customer, right? They would much prefer to text with you than to have to call and have a long conversation. And make sure your website's mobile friendly, right? The lion's share of your traffic now is getting there, not on desktop, but they're getting there from their phone, right? So pull up your website on your mobile phone. Does it fit within the screen? Is it easy to move up and down? Can I click a button and call your office? Do I have to copy and paste it? That will have a huge impact on your conversion rate. Make sure that your website is mobile optimized. And so on your workbook there's lots of little things to check. I'd love for you to put in comments out of all of those. What's the one thing you can modify? What's the one thing you can change on your website that would have an impact on your conversion rate, that would have an impact on your conversion from visitor to lead? Where he says video, excellent, love it. Don't just listen to me talk about this. I really want you guys to walk away with action items. I want you to walk away with things you can implement and put into place. Okay, section number 2, thinking about driving leads. To me, the most important thing is to make sure you're coming up in the non-paid listings, that your website's coming up in search where your customers are looking. And so one question we often get is, does SEO even still matter, right? And I'm going to tell you that it does, right? Yes, the paid ads have taken up more real estate. Yes, local service ads is there. But what we find is 71% of the clicks go to the organic and the map listing, 71%. And 67% click on the first 5 listings. That's either the top 3 Google Maps or the top 2 organic. And so it's super important that you are coming up in organic. Yes, SEO still matters. A couple examples of this. One of our clients that I kind of showed their website a couple of minutes ago is the Meridian Advantage in East Lansing, Michigan. And you can see here they spend about $8,000 per month in marketing. They average about 417 track leads, $19.32 per lead. But what I want you to see is 95 come from organic, 27 from paid, and 173 from Google Maps. And so if you look at that, if you run a couple searches, you see they come up in the map, they come up organic for most of the keywords that are relevant to them. But the lion's share comes from organic. Like if all they did with paid search, they'd be leaving a lot of opportunities on the table. 65% come directly from organic. So yes, SEO still matters. Yes, showing up in the non-paid listings super matters. You can't rely on pay-per-click and local service ads alone. And so the other thing that's really important is there's lots of keywords. Like when we think organic search, most of the time we think AC contractor, plumber, plumbing company. But the reality is your customers typing in a lot of different things when they need your service. They're typing in drain cleaning, gas line installation, sump pump installation and repair. And you want to make sure that you've thought about all of the different things combined with the city that you operate in. And you want to know, like, am I coming up for those keywords? Is my website showing up? Am I in the result or not? And it's a lot more keywords than you probably think. And so there's two ways to find out how you do for these keywords, right? Way number one would be to put it on Excel, create a massive list of keywords, and then pull up a Google search and search yourself one keyword at a time, right? And that's one way to do it. It'll take you probably a day and a half to get through it. The other way would be to run an automatic report that shows you exactly where you're coming up on Google and Bing, which are the two biggest search engines today. And we would be glad to run that report for you completely free of charge. Like this is what we do as part of our analysis. If we were to meet with you, we'd pull together a list of all of the keywords relevant to your service area, and we can provide it to you in an Excel sheet. And then we can run a report to show you, here's where you're coming up on Google. Here's where you're at on Google Maps. Here's where you're at on Bing. And here's where there's room for improvement. And so if that sounds valuable, it is. If it sounds time consuming, it is, but we've done it enough that we've systematized and we can do it relatively quickly. So if you'd like us to run that assessment for you, you can go to plumberseo.net/schedule. Plumberseo.net/schedule. Please do that now because there's 30 others of you on today's call. And it's going to be first come, first serve. So grab a time that works well for you. You can go ahead and go to plumberseo.net/schedule. We'll show you exactly where you rank. We'll talk about what might need to change on your website. If you're interested in having a conversation about how we can help you generate better results, we'd love to have that conversation. But if you just want the report, that's fine too. So Christian already put the link in there. Go there, check that out. So the next question is, now that we know what the keywords are, and we know that we want to come up for as many of them as possible, what do we have to do on the website to improve the probability of coming up? And for this section, I'm going to pull up share screen so it's a little bit easier for you to see the bullets. And this is one of those topics I could talk about for a day and a half, literally. But I want to try and hit the 80-20 of this for you guys and give you the key nuggets that you need in order to understand what needs to be done to come up in the non-paid listings for the most important keywords in your area. So you want to have a website that has a strong web presence. Are you guys seeing my screen? Am I sharing it right now? Just give me a 1 in the comments if you're seeing my screen. Okay, cool. Excellent. I'm going to hit this slide share here. Strong website, pages for each of your services. So if you do plumbing, drain cleaning, water heater repair, indoor air quality, AC installation, you need pages for each of those. Beyond that, you need pages for each of the cities that you operate in. So if you're based in our case, like we show the example of Shamrock Plumbing in Orlando, you want a page for Orlando Plumber or Orlando Plumbing, Orlando Drain Cleaning, Orlando Water Heater. But you need pages for each of those. But then you also want pages for the surrounding cities and towns. And usually I recommend pick the top 10 cities that you operate in. So in Orlando, there's Kissimmee and there's Coy and all these other little sub-cities. Think about your area and the surrounding cities and towns in your service area. You need to create a unique page for each of those with unique content that talks about the area, talks about the services, talks about what you do and how you're the go-to company within that market. And there's lots of nuance to how you write that content so it's not spammy, so that it's not duplicate, to make sure that it can actually rank. From there, we want to make sure we've got the keyword in the title tag, the keywords in the H1 tag for each one of those pages. We want to make sure we've got the name, address, phone number for local relevancy. We want to make sure that we've got a blog that's building up your authority, and that the website speed is on point so it can come up really, really quickly. So I'll just pull up an example here. Again, we talked about Valley and how their website is built to convert. I'll show you the Cliff Notes version of what we do on the website so that when you look at your site, you can see, oh, I see, this is what I would need to change. This is what I would need to do to make that work. And so if you look up Valley, and you search West Jordan Plumber, West Jordan Plumbing, West Jordan Drain Cleaning, and all of the different cities and towns, you can see they come up really, really well. Since I've got the Meridian Advantage up, I'll kind of show you what I mean here with a visual example. So homepage, East Lansing, up here in the title tag, MI Plumber AC Repair, right? East Lansing, Michigan. And then we've got the keywords on the site, right? East Lansing, plumbing, air conditioning. This is an H1. We've got great unique content that has our keywords in it, has the semantic keywords that support it, but also it's got to be written for a human being, right? The big thing that's changed with SEO over the last couple of years was you used to just put the keywords and get a lot of links. Well, now you want to also make sure that it's a great user experience, that the person gets to that page based on their click and they actually stick around and they scroll around, and more importantly, that they convert, right? So we got to make sure that content is written to convert. And so when I say title tag and H1 tag, that's what I'm talking about, right? Title tag up here, H1 tag right here. And then we want pages for each of the services. So we got a page for water heaters. We got a page for gas line installation and repair, right? East Lansing, gas line installation and repair, right? And the great content that goes along with it. We usually do like 25 to 30 services, right? Within plumbing, within drain cleaning, within AC, within heating, right? Lots of different keyword combinations. And then we want pages for each of the different cities that we operate in. So in the case of Meridian Advantage, right? We got each of these different cities and we got plumbing, heating, drain cleaning, right? So let's go to St. John's Cooling. You can see top rated St. John's cooling service, top rated AC contractor, St. John's, and unique content that goes with it. And so typically there's two things I see with SEO that most home service companies are not getting right. Either they don't have these pages for each of these different services and in the surrounding cities and towns. That's one mistake. And we just got to create the content. The other issue I see happen often is they have the pages, but they're done poorly, which means somebody set up a bunch of pages on the site and didn't optimize the titles and the H1s, or they just used garbage content that was keyword stuffed or was copied or was written by AI. And now they've got a mess on their website that doesn't actually rank the way that it should because they've overdone it instead of doing it right. And so, the whole topic of the session is how to triple your sales by getting your internet marketing right. And really that's the way it needs to be done. Like unique content written for the human with the semantic keywords infused throughout the site. And so I could go through example after example of this. Is a company we work with, Ira Hansen in the Sparks, Nevada, Reno area, come up in a dominant position. The other thing that's really important is title tags, H1 tags, unique content, pages for each of your cities, pages for each of your sub-cities. And that's just the on-page piece of this. So as you're looking at your website and kind of seeing these examples, what is it that stands out for you? Like, what's the thing you need to do? Maybe you need to create more pages. Maybe you need to make those pages unique. Maybe you need to revamp the content so that it's written for humans. Let me know in the comments, like what stands out to you in terms of what you need to do to improve your on-page optimization. See if anybody, give me a one if you're still tracking along with me. I know I got a lot of information. I want to make sure this is relevant. Okay, more pages says fresh AC. Corey says site speed, right? Make sure that we're loading quickly. I think as I do this presentation, typically plumbing, HVAC, electrical contractors stick with me and they can see what I'm talking about visually with the on-page stuff and they can track that. But the reality is, even if your on-page website was perfect and you got all the pages, you've got all of the content, you've got the title tags and the H1 tags, you could still not rank, right? Because there's lots of plumbing and HVAC and electrical companies that have websites targeting your city and your town, and they've created this content. So the differentiator between you being in the #1 spot and you being in the 75th spot is the quality of the content and the authority of the pages. And the authority is really what's going to drive whether you're in the first spot or the 10th spot, right? And the things that you do to move your authority up are really what make the difference, that you need a professional organization like ours to help you with, because you have to build links, you have to build citations, you have to build web references. There's no easy push button thing for it. And so off page, we got to claim and optimize the Google business profile. We need lots of reviews from real customers in our true service area. We've got to build links from other websites. And we do that through competitive link acquisition. We do that through content creation. We do that through interlinking with contractors that maybe we do business with, local businesses that we exchange business with, and then strategic content syndication, which is making sure when we write a content piece or piece of like an article that we actually aren't just putting it out on our website, but we're building it to link back to us. And there's lots of strategies that you can put in place to get that. Michael's asking for the link. Yes, we'll make sure. So the question on your worksheet here in order to really improve your rankings is, are you building links and authority? Do you have a process where somebody's looking at the number of links to your website, looking at the links from your next competitor, and are you building those links? Are you building that authority? 70% of the battle is he who has the most quality links to their homepage, to their drain page, to their water heater page, to their subsidy 1, 2, 3, 10 page. Whoever has the most relevant links over time is going to be ranked first. So there's a lot of different things that go into making sure you're coming up in the search engines for those different keywords and keyword combinations. Again, I don't want to get too technical. I don't want this to be like a dissertation on SEO, but there's things we want to do on page. There's things we want to do off page. And then there's the ongoing things that we do to build our authority, to build our links over time. So kind of as you look at, what you can do to improve your rankings, we'd love to know in comments, like, what is it that stands out? What are the things you need to put in place? I'm going to try and get to the cliff notes here on ranking in the Google map. In order to get ranked on the Google map, there's a couple key things. We got to claim our Google business profile, which used to be Google My Business. We got to get lots of citations, references of our company's name, address, phone number. Typically, that comes by way of being in all of the major online directories. And then we've got to have more reviews than the next competitor, right? All other things being equal, if you've got properly optimized Google profile, you've got lots of consistency with your name, address, phone number. Those are votes in your favor. And then you've got reviews on Google predominantly, but also on Yelp, on Angie's List. You can win the day and be in the top 3, ideally in the #1 spot. I could show you hundreds, and if we had hours, I could just spend hours pulling up our clients, showing you where they rank on the map. And this is a proven process that's worked over and over and over again. It's not easy, but this is what it comes down to. The combination of the website with the proper on-page optimization, with the review automation strategy, everything else really moves your rankings up in the search results. And then from there, like, you've got the organic piece dialed in, we've got to drive paid traffic, right? And make sure we're tapping into local service ads, make sure we're tapping into Google ads, and that we're doing it in the correct way. Really, I think foundationally, you want to have a good organic presence, and then you want to layer paid search on top of that. A lot of contractors have this pyramid inverted in that they're spending lots of money on paid search, lots of money on local service ads, but they don't have a great website that's ranking well for all the different keywords. And so it's much harder, right? The average cost per lead is much higher. The return on investment isn't nearly as good. And so we want to build on a strong organic foundation and then put paid search on top of it so that it becomes a supplement to our lead flow, and we can kind of diversify the results. Give me a 1 if you're still tracking along with me. I know we're an hour in. I'm going to try and wrap up in the next 10 or 15 minutes, but just give me a 1 if you're still tracking along and you're getting value from today's session. Excellent. I'm getting some good feedback. When it comes to paid search, the first channel you should be playing in is local service ads, right? Google guaranteed. Really important that you know what local service ads is, that you're playing in local service ads. I've got a whole hour-long presentation on how to get set up in local service ads and how to win with local service ads. I just want to get to the main point on local service ads, which is, I think it's right here. Obviously, you've got to set up the background checks. You got to get that taken care of. Main things are you got to mark your job as complete. Like once you're in the rotation and you've got your budget opened up and you've got the right services that you're targeting, the leads, when they call in, hit the Google local service ads dashboard. And you're going to have a list of all the leads that you've generated. You only have to pay for the ones that are legit, that are in your service area. And most contractors they get the leads, they answer the call, their dispatcher goes out and they do the work, but they're not going in and marking the jobs as booked. And what Google really wants is to know that they're sending the lead to a Google guaranteed contractor and that contractor is taking good care of the customer. And so it's really important that you or somebody on your team, this is something we do for our clients that upgrade to our local service ads management, is we listen to those calls, we dispute the ones that are no good, but most importantly, we mark the ones that are as booked. And we shoot for a high booking ratio, which in addition to our spend can really optimize us being relevant in the 3-pack result on local service ads. And so it's super important that you or somebody on your team is listening to those calls, we're reading the outcomes, we're dealing with the disputes, and we're driving verified reviews. There's reviews on Google Maps or Google Business Profile, and then there are reviews specific to Google local service ads. What you want is to mark those jobs as booked, push the review request through the profile, and then actually build up your Google local service ads specific reviews. These are very specific things you can do to improve your probability of winning with local service ads. We like to shoot for an 85% booking ratio, which means we're going to make sure we answer those calls, that we get somebody out there, and that Google sees we're hustling to convert their opportunities to serve their customers at the highest level possible. This has a big impact on whether you're going to remain relevant in the results. And then in order to increase the lead flow over time, we want to open up the budget. We want to expand the service area. We want to make sure we get all the right jobs selected. We want to make sure we close out all of the leads in the platform, and we're driving those reviews on a consistent basis. This is really a great formula to win with local service ads. From there, we want to tap into Google ads, which can be very effective, quite a bit more costly typically than local service ads. But when done correctly, we'll have a bigger knob, right? A knob that we can continue to say, hey, we need more leads. We're going to spend more on drain cleaning. We're going to spend more on water heaters. We're going to spend more on service and repair. We're going to spend more on AC installation. And you want to make sure that you segmented out each of those different ad groups. You got landing pages for each of those different ad groups. The relevancy is super high, and you can get great results with paid search. I know a lot of times I talk with contractors like, I tried pay-per-click and it didn't work, or I tried pay-per-click and we got no return on investment. When you do it right, it can absolutely work. This is just an example of Cardinal, one of the companies we work with. $9,000 spend, 224 leads, average of $40 cost per lead for HVAC specific in a pretty competitive market. The reason most paid search campaigns fail is because most PPC management companies will set up all of these different keywords: plumbing, emergency plumbing, drain cleaning, repiping, drive traffic straight to the homepage, and put it all in one ad group. Really, and that's the recipe for failure. That's the recipe for spending way more than you need to on each click, converting at a relatively low ratio. But to do it right, we set up a separate ad group specifically for emergency plumbing, let's just say, a specific ad that comes up specific to that particular search. We land them on a page saying, hey, if you got a plumbing emergency in the Dallas market, we can solve this. We can get someone out there today. When we do it like that, we get a much higher click-through ratio, we get a higher quality score, we can pay less per lead, and we actually convert more of the clicks into sales and into booked jobs. So when it comes to paid search, lots of opportunity. A lot of times it's like, are you actually participating and have you dialed in your campaigns? So in your workbook there, I know we're kind of covering a lot of ground here, but in your workbook, like, what are the things you need to think about from a paid search perspective, right? There's a knob, which means you could spend more as long as it's dialed in, and there's an unlimited source of people looking for these services, right? And if you can manage your cost per lead, you can manage your cost per acquisition, then you can continue to ratchet it up as you grow. Last thing I want to talk a little bit about, actually two last things I want to talk about. We've talked about the formula, we've talked about paid search. The big opportunity that a lot of contractors are missing is marketing automation. And when I asked, like what's the big opportunity? A lot of you guys said automation. And as we've seen, there's lots of things you can do to market yourself. SEO, pay-per-click, thumbtack, local service ads, Google ads. Your own trucks are a great marketing resource. Typically, we can generate a lot of leads, but we're not converting them the way that we do. And the issue I see day in and day out with home service and plumbing HVAC companies is 50 to 60% of inbound leads go unconverted, and 90% or more of web forms fail to convert. Right? They submitted a request, but nobody got back to them. Nobody followed up, and it was dead. And the reason that this doesn't work is your leads, especially when they submit a form that don't get followed up within 15 minutes or less, go cold. There's too many options. There's too many other companies out there that can answer their call, that can get somebody out there that day. And the average customer needs to be touched 5 to 7 times. And your customer today would prefer to interact via text message than over the phone. And so the solution is to leverage automation to solve for this, right? And the automation exists where if somebody fills in a form in 2 minutes or less, actually within the first 30 seconds, they can get a text message. Hey, I saw you fill out the form on our website. This is Bob with Bob Jones Plumbing. How can I help you? And it opens a conversation. They can get a call because it automatically dials out to your office, and the office gets a call. Hey, you've got a lead. Press 1 to connect now, and tries to call that customer. And then get an email as well, even though the email doesn't really generate a lot. And then we can make sure that we track the leads that are generated that didn't book. And we don't just say, hey, we'll wait for them to call back. We put a system in place that touches them every couple of days. Hey, just wanted to circle back. Did you get this taken care of? Hey, were you still looking to get that plumbing situation resolved? Right? If you follow up with your leads, not in an annoying way, but you just touch them. Hey, just want to check in. Did you get this resolved? This is Betty from Bob Jones Plumbing. You are going to convert more of the leads that you generate. And the system we've developed for this is called Conversion Amp. I could spend another hour just on this, but the reality is marketing automation will amplify your conversion rate because you're faster to follow up and you can communicate the way your customers want to be communicated. And so if you're not leveraging automation, you can hire our services and we'll put all of this in place. But if all you need is the automation piece, we can set this up for you as well. Rick is on. He's our director of Conversion Amp. And if you want to check out Conversion Amp, we've now rolled this out to hundreds of plumbing, HVAC, electrical service contractors that are getting amazing results by leveraging automation. You can go to conversionamp.com, click the book online button, and we will show you exactly how it works, how you can implement it, how you can get the outcomes. Type automation in place if you think there's an opportunity for you to generate more leads convert more leads by leveraging automation. Just type automation in place. And I'll tell you that the cost of this is less than the cost of one additional book job per month. Actually has an exponential impact on your results. So we've talked about organic, we've talked about conversion, we've talked about marketing automation. The next thing is we have to track, right? If we're really serious about tripling our sales by getting our internet marketing right, we have to be able to track. We talked about knowing how much we spent, knowing what our average cost per lead was, and knowing what our true return on investment is. Couple of tracking mechanisms you want to put in place. Google Analytics tells you how many people got to the website. Keyword tracking, you can put your list of keywords and have it automatically check every month to see, are we ranking for our most important keywords? Is that link building and that citation development moving the needle so we're coming up when our customers are searching? You absolutely need to have call tracking in place so that you can know how many calls came in. You can hear recordings of those conversations to quantify what happened, what the results were. And what's really cool is we now have what we call our ROI Insights report, where we can take a feed and integrate with your dispatch system. Put me in the comments what your dispatch system is today. Is it Service Titan? Is it House Call Pro? Is it Field Edge? Is it some other platform? Corey says House Call Pro. Most of our clients use Service Titan. And so what's beautiful is House Call Pro is we're generating leads, right? But what you want is book jobs and revenue. And so with our ROI Insights report, we can show you exactly which of our leads wound up booking a job inside House Call Pro, inside Service Titan. And it can match that data and see how many of those actually generated revenue. Was it a $500 job? Was it a $12,000 job? What was the actual revenue? And you're able to see on your reporting, not just, here's how much money we think you spent and how much we think you generated. You'll know down to the dollar how much revenue was generated versus your expense. And when you know that, and you can go down and drill down into the actual source. All right, how much of that revenue came from the SEO? How much of that revenue came from the paid search? You can more confidently double down and say, okay, I see an ROI here on the local service ad stuff. Let's increase the budget. Hey, I see the ROI on the SEO stuff. Let's spend more and continue to track that over time. Type ROI if you think that would be a game changer to be able to see, here's what we spent, here's how much revenue actually came in from that spend, and quantify the true ROI. Amazing. Absolutely. So again, like these are the key things you want to put in place. If you're doing business with us, we can run the entire gamut, right? We can do all of this stuff on your behalf. If you just need the ROI Insights, or if you just need the conversion amp marketing automation, we can have a conversation with you about that. Coming full circle, right? We talked about tripling our sales and this accelerated growth model that we've rolled out for hundreds of plumbing, HVAC, electrical, and home service companies really boils down to three key things. We got to drive leads, we got to maximize conversion, and we got to optimize results. Hopefully you've got some great insights and some great takeaways in your workbook. Please noodle down the things you want to put in place, noodle down the things that you're actually going to implement. If you'd like our help, this is what we do day in and day out. We would love the opportunity to talk with you, look at your current website, look at your current SEO, look at your current tracking, and have a business conversation. Hey, here's where you're crushing it. Here's where there's room for an opportunity for improvement. And if we can help you take your business to the next level, we can help you accomplish the goals that you've set out for yourself. We'd love to be part of that growth. So if that sounds interesting to you, Christian's already put it in the chat. You can go to plumberseo.net/schedule. That's plumberseo.net/schedule. Or you can call us. If you happen to be listening to this after the fact, you can call us at 866-610-4647. Any questions? I mean, I feel like I rapid fired a lot of information. Hopefully you don't feel like you've been drinking from a fire hose here today. But for those of you that scheduled, we're really excited about meeting with you. Any questions that I can answer while we're still live? Trying to progress my slides here. I'm not seeing any questions, but I want to thank you for those of you that stuck around through the entire session. Thanks for listening. Thanks for smiling. Thanks for engaging with me in the chat. John, Jerry, appreciate you guys. Corey, thank you so much for being on throughout the entirety of the session. I'm going to let you guys get back to your day. I'm excited to hear how you implement this, how you grow, kind of how you take your company to the next level. And have an amazing afternoon, everyone. And I look forward to talking with you all again real soon. Thanks, everybody.